Hey everyone, thanks. We're back with another edition of the weekly Brainstorm. I see a lot of people joining in still. So I'll just take a quick, like 2-3 minutes to introduce myself, what the format is about. If someone's not been here before, then you kind of get to understand what this whole thing is about. I'm Ishwar, I'm the founder of Unsolved.xyz. We run this weekly brainstorm where we invite one startup to pretty much take stage, present about an interesting problem that they're trying to solve, share a demo of a product that they're working on, and then we invite pretty much the entire founder community out there to brainstorm. And it could be on different aspects of the brainstorm. It could be on problem side brainstorming, solution side brainstorming, or it could even be on go to market, or how do you acquire those first few users, or what kind of distribution channels to use to get to massive growth. So the brainstorm itself varies, session to session. It depends on what the startup is looking for, and sometimes it just goes with the flow of the conversation. But broad structure is, we have a startup today, Upsave. Namit joins us to take us through what he's building. It's extremely interesting. I've been following them for a fair bit of time. And I'll let him tell you what it's all about. But before that, I'll set the broad structure. Namit will take you through a 5 to 6 minute presentation on what they're doing, why they're building what they're building, some screenshots to help you understand the product better, and post which we'll kind of move into what they are looking for in terms of short-term goals, or what they're looking for in terms of this brainstorming session. And then we'll kind of take it free flow. As and when they're presenting, you're likely to have a few questions. Those questions could be asked in the chat box. I see some chats coming in. And you can just ask those in the chat box. And once the session is done, we then start doing the whole raise hand feature, which you can see on the right side. You raise your hand, you can come up on stage and then have a more detailed conversation with the founder, Namit in this case, on the startup, or any suggestions that you have, or any deep dive discussion, right? So now I'm going to hand over the stage to Namit now. He will take us through what he's building at Upsave. And as this presentation is going on, you may have some questions or clarifications. Please note that down in the chat box. And immediately after the presentation, we'll first try to answer those clarifications, and then move into the brainstorming component. So stage one is context, then some clarifications, and then brainstorm. All over to you. Thanks everyone again for joining in. Namit's taking over, and over to you.
Thanks, Ishwar. Hello all. Good morning for joining. So myself, Namit Agrawal. I'm one of the co-founders for Upsave. So we are four co-founders. Other than me, there are three others, and I see Sudhir from my team has also joined now. So we are working on a financial application which we call now as a virtual assistant to create saving habits. And fortunately, it's our fortune that our application actually went live today morning. So while I am talking and going to talk about this application, you can maybe also go head to Google Play Store and download it. So while I'm talking about it, explaining you what this app is, you might actually play around with it, and you might in the process understand it a bit more, and then we can also go through any questions or queries you might have. So I'll move into the presentation now, which will introduce you to the application. Hopefully everyone can see the deck. So as I said, Upsave is a savings habit assistant. It helps you to build healthy saving habits and rewards you for every save which you do. So that's in a nutshell what our application is. The problem, and it's both a combination of the problem which we saw as well as a need which has recently come up because of the unique business environment in which we are in today. So from the problem side, we have seen lack of healthy saving habit behavior in millennials, which is there. And on the need side, what we have seen in the current business context is there is a need to create safe, healthy habits, to create emergency funds for current situations like these when your income may not be predictable in the context of lockdowns. And also this kind of offering essentially helps you create a savings behavior and a savings habit, which can once configured, it can create a good amounts of money every month by doing a small save every day. So that's on the problem side and what's really the need for this kind of a product. Look, going a little bit deeper in terms of the problem statement, where we come from in terms of saving habits, there are four contributors to this lack of healthy savings behavior, which we analyze. So the first one of that was we feel there is no integrated micro savings platform which is available to young generation today, millennials, Gen Zs. Whatever platforms are available today are mostly tied to individual banks. So banks in their individual capacities are trying to create some micro savings platforms, but they are very, very specific to a bank, and a customer of a bank can only leverage that. We don't see a solution which is available today which can work across any banking channel which the customer use. So Upsave is an offering which works with any kind of a bank account in the backend. That is one. Second is we see that today's generation has a spending before saving mindset, and I think this is something which we are trying to turn around, and we are like trying to encourage a savings before spending mindset. That's what we want to achieve. The third is we believe there is a lack of motivation for saving. People really don't understand the young generation as to why they need to save. COVID situation notwithstanding, I think till February people were really not serious about how it's gonna lead to financial independence. That concept is not really well understood by the young generation today, and this we discovered through one-on-one interactions with several people. We did a couple of surveys which we rolled out within our target segment. And finally, saving has always been perceived to be cumbersome and difficult, in the sense that it's always difficult to identify what's the right amount to save. And therefore, people find it cumbersome to calculate, do some backward calculation that if this is the amount I need to end up at the end of the month, how do I pace myself? So planning is a little bit cumbersome, and we want to address that situation. This is the overall financial market in the space in which we operate. Fintech is essentially our whole universe, and if you look at it, we are essentially playing in the savings and instruments space. And in this space, as per the PricewaterhouseCoopers data, we see there is a 40% penetration, which means of all the potential people who can leverage savings and investment products today, 40% users use them, but there is a 60% market segment which is not yet penetrated. And when I say penetrated, it is in terms of similar solutions in which people have access to bank in their pocket kind of an applications, which they can use to inculcate these kind of saving behaviors. And that's where we want to tap in. So now introducing what Upsave does. So at Upsave, what we are doing is that we are promoting savings habit by essentially aggregating following saving behaviors. So we feel there are essentially four kind of saving behaviors or saving habits which people want to inculcate. The first is the save before spending behavior. This is what people want to do but are not necessarily able to do, which is to say, as soon as there is a credit, they should be able to do some saving even before spending a single rupee. That is the first kind of behavior. The second kind of behavior is save as you spend, which means that as I am spending, I should also make sure that there is a corresponding amount of saving also automatically getting created. The third kind of saving behavior is I should be able to save periodically, be it on a weekly basis, be it on a monthly basis. I should be able to save a small sum of money. I once set it and forget it, and then it just starts firing away. And finally, I should be able to save on demand, which is I feel like saving today, So I should be able to save today. So these are the 4 saving behaviors or saving habits which we are automating through our application. And a user can choose to automate or pick or configure either one of these or all of these, depending upon which saving habits they want to inculcate. And finally, what this leads to is that every save leads to a reward, which we are building into the app, which acts as a positive nudge to the user to continue that savings behavior. And at the same time, funds are secured in a true savings account, which can then be auto invested on the user's behalf. This really is the most important, I think, slide in my deck, which essentially tells you what we are trying to do and what users or our end customers can take away from this application. So slightly more taking a slightly more holistic picture in terms of how the platform grows. So we essentially look at the financial behavior analytics of the user. Based on that, trigger one or more saving behaviors, and in the process creates a neat sum of money every month. And then what user can do is that user can invest this sum of money into various safe investment products like PPF, NPS, recurring deposits of banks, gold ETFs, and multiple other safe instruments which are provided both by government and public sector banks. Given that these days not many people are willing to invest in private banks, even private banks, given the financial instability which is there because of the COVID situation. In terms of a revenue model, we'll essentially be partnering with a few banks to identify the right financial product offerings for the customers. And one of the main ones which we want to do would be insurance. Given the current situation as well, wherein we are in today's world, I think insurance is something which people really need, and they are already taking a serious look at how they need to secure their family, how they need to secure their finances. And in this process, what we want to give the users is a sense of achieving their life goals or a sense of achieving their financial independence. Because if their saving habits are improved, they will be able to save every month, and hence they will be able to lead toward financial independence. And that's our kind of ultimate goal. In terms of our technology, our whole solution will be based on a lot of data analytics piece, in which, as I said, this is a financial behavior analytics platform. So we will be analyzing a lot of user data in terms of what is the right saving behavior. So right now we are allowing the user to select the saving behavior for himself or herself, but based on historic data, the user in future will also start recommending the right saving habit or the right saving behavior based on how the user has been in terms of their financial spends. So that's where our descriptive analytics, our data analytics piece will come in. We currently are working on machine learning, natural language processing to understand the financial behavior. And based on that, we identify which is the right saving habit trigger to apply. We are also working on gamification elements. We believe that saving habits should also be done in a way that it becomes very engaging. So we are working on various kind of challenges which we'll be introducing on a weekly, monthly basis. We are working on currently a 12-week challenge, in which every week there will be a challenge presented to a user in terms of savings to be achieved. And if the user achieves that, there will be a reward from our side. And then there will be a community publication which will do that, hey, this user achieved this challenge, and that's where the gamification element comes in. And we plan to add a few games or a few challenges, social challenges for users to play, and in the same process create some savings in the back end for themselves. In terms of vision, our final vision is to inculcate.
Probably good to share the product and things like that, those screenshots.
Sure, I'll come to that.
A lot of people are have those basic queries right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly come to that. So our vision is to inculcate saving behavior and hence create safe habits and help people achieve saving goals. I'll quickly come to the application. So this is a landing page of the application. The application, as I said, is already live on Google Play Store. You can search our app by using the keyword Upsave Analytics. Upsave Analytics is our company name. You can also search by Upsave, but search results will be better if you search using Upsave. So this is a screen which you'll get after you register using your mobile number. So we have a very simple registration process, which is mobile number, OTP based. Both are automated. Your mobile number and OTPs are auto read and auto populated. And after registration, you land into this landing page. So these 5 icons which you see here are the 5 saving habits. So as a user, you can select which is the saving habit which you want to use in this app. The first one is the Upsave the Change, which is your save as you spend. So for every spend you make, there's a micro savings get created. The second one is Upsave on Cash, which is like every time you go to a bank, withdraw money, every time you go to bank, withdraw funds from ATM, will create a saving for you. Get set Upsave is the periodical saving behavior. So if you want to save periodically every week, every month, you can set this up. Upsave it first is just save before spend kind of a saving behavior in which you can configure it to save it every time there is a credit, like a salary credit in your account. Every time the moment the salary hits on your account, we'll take a percentage of that amount and save it for investment. And Upsave on Demand is a save it now habit. So these are the 5 habits which we give to you at the time you land on our app. And at the bottom, you can see some insights. So this is where our data analytics piece comes in, wherein we show you very interesting insights on your spending patterns, on your saving patterns, on any upcoming bills or any alerts which you need to be aware of, which then you can take to and you can use this information to take corrective action. So for example, you can say, well, last week you saved 500 rupees, but you should have saved 700 rupees. So you're 200 rupees short. So maybe you need to go to Upsave now and make a 200 rupees saving. So it will allow you to quickly adapt by looking at the insights, which are like it is continuously reading and analyzing on a real-time basis. These are the configuration screens. So there is a one field configuration which needs to be done for each of the saving habit. This is a one-step process, and you do it once, and then you are set for life. It's almost as simple as that. So, for example, if you look at this Upsave on Cash, you only need to tell us what's the percentage amount you need to save every time there's a withdrawal, 5%. And maybe I'll focus more on Upsave it first, because this is a very interesting rule, and this is a behavior change which we're trying to inculcate, which essentially says that whenever a credit hits your account in terms of salary or a bonus or let's say a mutual fund has credited or a FD has credited, or let's say a rent has come in and you want to invest it, you can configure it for a value between 1 to 10% right now. So every time there is a credit, a value between 1 to 10% will be debited based on your configuration, and it will be sent to a TrueSave account, which is again your account. I want to clarify, we don't touch your money. So it's your money, it stays with you, it is moved by you. We are just facilitating the whole process in the background, and we are trying to just automating the behavior, and we are just giving you those positive nudges which you need to create those savings. So these are configuration screens. After you have done your configurations, these are your dashboards. So you can go to your once you have configured, then as you start making your digital spends, what happens is that the right saving habit behavior will get triggered automatically by the app. So if you look at the left-hand side screen, it shows all these triggers. So Upsave it first is my save before spend behavior, which got triggered. So there was a 40 rupee credit which I received in my account, and there was a 2 rupees upsaving which got created on top of it and was sent to my investment account. Similarly, Upsave on Demand was triggered. Upsave it first. There are several entries for there. So as your saving behaviors get triggered, they start appearing on your dashboards. And as you will keep making more and more digital spends, your dashboard will keep on reflecting all these stats. So all your stats are visible, and you can look at it. You can look at the stats based on the date, or you can look at your stats based on the behaviors. So if you look at the right-hand side screen, it shows you all these stats based on the behaviors. So Upsave the Change is your save as you spend behavior. So you can see using the save as you spend behavior, I have saved 70 rupees. And if you go further below to the third one, Upsave it first, which is your save before you spend behavior, you will say, you have saved 20 rupees using this behavior so far. And at the top, you can see the cumulative totals. So for a week, what is the total amount you have saved so far using one of your automated saving habit behaviors? This is your notification screen, wherein as you have accumulated your funds, we notify you to transfer it. So to clarify here, when a saving habit behavior triggers, it creates a virtual saving, and this virtual saving appears as a notification. So once a week, essentially, you'll get this notification, and you'll get this button like "To Save Now." When you click on "To Save Now," you can do an actual UPI transfer of these funds to your investment account. So most of the users these days already have a UPI app. So if you have a UPI app, you don't need to do anything. The UPI app will automatically pop up once you click on TrueSave Now, and then you only need to tell us what is your investment account. For your investment account,
Namit, just a time heads up. You'll probably have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm done. This is almost the last screen.
Yeah.
So you only need to tell us the investment account. For investment account, we need your UPI ID and your last 3 digits. So in my case, I have set up my HDFC Bank as my investment account, from where I make all my investments, and I've given my 3-digit ID. So all my savings, all my these 5 different saving behaviors are gonna deposit money into my this savings account once configured. And this is the final screen, which is transaction log. Essentially, this tells you, it's like kind of a transaction log to say what were my all financial messages on which this application was running. One interesting aspect of this transaction log is also it is your multi-bank account statement. If you use, let's say, 4 bank accounts, what it can do is that it can tell you a transaction summary across all 4 bank accounts. So you don't need to log into 4 accounts. You can get one single consolidated history here. So that's pretty much it. Our app is already available on Play Store. You can download it using some of these keywords which are here, and you can contact us here. These are my contact details. Otherwise, I think the best thing to do, or the best ask for us, is really you download the app. I'll switch back to the video, and
let me just try and jump into some questions right away, Namit, so that all these clarifications can be done. Konark asks if are you familiar with Kaleidofin, and is this similar to what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. So we are familiar with Kaleidofin. Kaleidofin is a goal-based savings application. What we believe is that there is no you essentially you identify a savings goal for you, and then it essentially advises you several financial products which are available to the user based on the recommendation engine which they run, and user can select the right financial product to achieve the financial goal.
How would you say you're different?
So we essentially go one step below. So we essentially are going at the habit level. So we are saying that a user needs to first of all inculcate a good savings habit, and we are saying that a user essentially has 4 different kind of saving habits or saving behaviors, and we are automating that. Kaleidofin does not do that. Kaleidofin says what is your goal in life, and it allows you to create multiple goals, and then it allows you to move towards those goals based on some financial products which are suggested by Kaleidofin, whereas we are like a habits automation of saving habits kind of a offering.
Sure. Venkatesh asks, does the app find the best schemes to invest?
So yeah, it will eventually do that. Right now, what we are doing is that right now we are stashing away your savings into an investment account. Once you have your funds into your investment account, the phase 2 of the solution will do the recommendation part of it, in which will recommend you the best saving options based on your risk profile. So we only want to do safe products, so like a few liquid products or gold mutual funds, or PPF NPS accounts, so which will be in the range of 7 to 9% interest which users can get. So those we'll recommend, and we are also partnering with the couple.
You're not directly managing it for them. You're saying you can invest in these.
So yeah, we'll
invest in those. I mean, will I have like a one-click push or something of that over there in future?
So actually, they'll be able to invest as well. So, for example, if there's a liquid mutual funds are very safe. They are safer than debt mutual funds. They invest in government securities. So there, a user will be able to directly invest because we'll be partnering with a API payment gateway eventually, wherein one of these savings habit can be automatically configured to invest in a mutual fund, for example.
Will there be a possibility of a direct debit? Shabir asks.
Yeah, so direct debit can be done in case you want to invest in a mutual fund or a savings product. As far as in our current phase, since we are just moving your funds into an investment account, there is no direct debit. However, once we move to our phase two, when we start doing investments into mutual fund, we'll give direct debits as well through e-mandate or e-nudge process. That's on the roadmap. Yeah.
Okay. Some questions on data privacy.
Sure. Yeah. So we are first of all, we don't save any personally identifiable information other than the mobile number of the user. We don't store anything else. We have the other information which we have is all 256-bit encrypted. We only look at 5 essential keywords. So we work based on credited, debited, paid kind of keywords. Only we read your SMS messages based on these keywords. Rest all SMS messages are not read. And Google, by the way, has very strong data privacy policies these days, and we have already gone through the entire Google approval process because there were multiple rounds of approvals which we had to take from Google. And because of the fact that our app is on the Google Play Store, you can be sure that Google has done all the verification they needed to do to make sure that our app is secure to the extent required.
Shashank has an interesting question. He wants to go down to the problem side of things. Shashank, could you be okay to raise your hand and just come on stage and kind of elaborate on this? His fundamental question is: do users perceive not saving as a pain? And I'm assuming that he has a perspective on it personally.
Sure.
So Shashank, if you do think you can raise your hand and come up and just share what you have in mind, that would be great. Uh, Nonetheless, through your user research, right? I mean, like basically, I think the question is, like you said, like one of the problem statements that you had in your first screen was
Yeah.
that millennials are not aware that they want to save, right? So that they have to save. Now, if they're
Correct.
not aware, then it doesn't even come into their problem set. I mean, you as you can see that as a product owner or a someone who's been observing this trend, say that, oh, this is a problem, but that's like saying climate is a problem, but it's not. For whom is that? Who is facing that problem, right?
Sure.
So if you're making the guy who is like, if he wants to save and you're giving him an easy way to save, that's an easy answer, right? But he's like, I don't even want to save, I don't know what saving is about. If that is the question, then how do you deal with that?
Sure. So that's a fair question. However, there are two sides.
I'm also going to throw that open to the audience, right? Please raise your hand if anyone wants to just join in this conversation. One, to just discuss about how do we define that problem statement accurately. Is this about educating them? Is this about inculcating a habit? Can we do a habit before education? All of that, right? So we'd love to hear some views.
Yeah.
Yes, so please feel free to raise your hand and just hop on stage
Sure.
and discuss that. Yeah.
Yeah. So meanwhile, I'll try to answer the whether it's really a problem kind of a statement. So first of all, obviously, when we started, we did a few validations from our side. We reached out to our target segment of users, which were 20 years to 40 years old. We conducted face-to-face interviews. We conducted surveys as well. So the data point which we got was that there were 66% users, roughly about two-thirds of the users which we approached to, and we asked them what were the problem space in this area. Two-thirds said that they want to save, but they don't want to save, but they are not able to save. So they have a savings inclination. So yes, I agree. It's not necessarily that people don't know that they. I mean, people don't. There are people who say that savings is not my problem at all. So there are that kind of user, but those are like 1/3 as per our study. But 66% of the users was users who told us that they want to save, but they don't know how to save. So they are not aware of any platforms available. They don't know how to what is the right mechanism, what is the right planning behavior, what is the right amount to do, and how really to go about it. So, and they found it really painful or problematic. So we thought that, is there a way we can automate it, and is there a way they set it up once and they like kind of indicate it to us that they want to do it, and then we help them by giving them positive nudges and in
Hey,
terms of.
I see a very interesting question that, apps that trigger a sense of aversion also, kind of scares me a little at the end of the month, right? So could you like just hop on stage and kind of explain that a little bit so that we could understand your perspective a little better? Thanks, Arun, for joining us.
Just 1 second. Hey, Namit, hi. This
Hi.
is Arun. First of all, I mean, great pitch. I mean, great app. I just have like a series of questions. I think I'll just take the first question that Ishwar mentioned. Okay, see, predominantly with any expense tracking or savings tracking app, during the month or at the end of the month, I really don't want to go back to the app and see how much I've spent, right? Because I've tried using, let's say, a walnut, and I'm someone who invests regularly. I'm someone who tracks my investments regularly. So even then, when I see my expense pattern at the end of the month, and I don't have an existing loan, or I don't have a credit card or anything, I just blow up things on alcohol. Sometimes, it's an excess, it's an excessive usage. But the end of the month, I see that, okay, I've spent on X. I've spent like 10-15K on the X amount of breweries that I've been to in Bangalore. I don't want to look back at that statement at all. Even in the middle of the month, if someone tells me that, Arun, see, instead of going to a brewery, why don't you move this to let's say, a gold-based ETF? I won't listen to this guy. So how are we solving for that?
Yeah. So, very interesting thought, Arun. So, one of the saving behaviors which we have coming up in the next release is what we call as guilt spent, guilt behavior. And what it does is that you can define your guilt spends in advance, and you can say, every time I'm gonna order food from Swiggy, you save 5% on the Swiggy order for me. Similarly, every time I go for boozing with friends at Bistro Bar. Bistro Bar is a merchant which I set for myself, and whenever I get a financial transaction from Bistro Bar, there is a X percentage on that invoice which goes to my savings account. So this is something which we are working on, and this is gonna be available in 2 to 4 weeks from now as an additional savings behavior which we are calling as a guilt spend kind of behavior. Hopefully that addresses your problem.
Okay. Can I ask my other questions as well, Ishwar? Is that okay?
Sure. Your stage is yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Namit, the other question is really on the revenue aspect of it, right? So I understand that, let's say, your PPFs or your bonds that you're dealing with. I mean, come on. Let's say you're dealing with bonds. That's an expense of 50 basis, and you're not really making anything on that, even if you have like a deep retail penetration, right?
Yep.
And if you're going by, let's say, liquid funds, the overall expense on a direct itself will be around 11 basis, 10 basis. So you might not really be making a lot on that. So first of all, I want to ask: are you registered as a distributor, or are you registered as an advisor?
We are registered as a distributor.
Okay, so you make slightly more on. So what you will be selling is regular plans on the mutual fund platform.
Yes.
Okay, so you slightly make. So if it's mutual funds, you make a trail there.
Yep.
Okay, right. So then why is there? So I understand the volatility aspect of things, but if you are really inculcating investment habit as well, along with the savings and along with the the spending pattern, you're doing a great job with the investment pattern as well.
Yep.
So then why stick to only liquid funds for now? Is the only reason is because you want to deal with volatility as of now, and then when momentum picks up, you'll start putting out other products as well there? That's now number one. Then the other aspect is because you'll be going regular on this, how are you competing with the Paytms and the Scriptbox of the world? Okay, Scriptbox is regular anyway, but how are you competing with Paytm, because they offer direct?
Sure. So there were two questions. I'll answer the first one first, which was any other after liquid? Why not other products? So definitely, we are focusing more on safer instruments right now because of the business context as well. And as the business situation improves, we'll start focusing on debt instruments as well. But right now, safety of investment is our highest priority. And secondly, is that if you really look at our user persona is a conservative middle class user. That's the kind of people which we are going after. These are people who are like in a 20,000 rupees per month to 1 lakh rupees per month salary bracket, not beyond that. I mean, anyone who earns more than a lakh rupees a month may not be the right customer even for us. So we have conservative users. So that's the second reason why we are focusing on safer instruments. To answer the second question, we are not competing with the mutual fund distribution companies. The only thing which we are trying to do is that we are trying to just provide an auto investment option for the user. So as savings are getting created, they are also invested, so that we essentially compete with a bank account. So we are saying that by using our offering, you avoid a situation in which your funds are lying idle at 3%, 4%. You can do a better job by automatically moving that money to 7% instrument. That's our primary play here. From a revenue perspective, we are gonna be focusing more on insurance.
Predominantly health and life, or beyond that?
Yeah, health and life, yes.
Health and life. Okay. Thanks, Namit. Yeah.
Thanks, Arun. Shailesh, would you like to just hop on board? I think you have some doubts on how this whole thing works. I think there were some more questions around your revenue model. If you could elaborate on that, Namit, because I see a common questions there on the revenue model, right? It might be useful to clarify.
So we have multiple revenue models. So we also have a subscription model which we are evaluating right now. So as I said in my presentation, we are focusing a lot on analytics, and a key piece of our offering is gonna be insights. And we are not focusing on expense insights because there are already a lot of players, as Arun said, like Walnut and other offerings, which are focusing on expenses. We are not gonna focus on expenses. We are gonna focus more on saving behavior related insights, and more on potential savings. So we are going to look at various kind of target personas and say, hey, this is the amount you can save, and by using our app in different ways, you can save this amount. So we are going to focus more on potential savings as a insights driven savings creation model, and hence we want to back it up with a subscription model. So what we want to do is that we'll have a premium part of the app in which the insights part could be a paid model, and that is one revenue model we are looking at. So the basic version works free, but if you want to look at interesting insights, data points, how other users in community are doing, how you are comparing with those users, so all those interesting insights will come at a small subscription fee. So that is one revenue model. The second is insurance. By becoming a partner with an insurance provider, we'll have a commission on the health and life insurance products which we'll have. We are also looking at a parallel B2B model in which we want to do corporate financial wellness programs, in which we'll be tying up with corporates to push this as a safe investment option to the employees. So using our platform, the employees can invest in investment products like ELSS funds in the future, which can lead to tax savings. So all these PPFs, NPS, ELSS, etc., provide taxable tax saving instruments for employees. So our idea is to do that, and also then have corporate cards made available to the employees, so that any expense done by the employee is automatically reconciled by the employer. So there are several use cases which we look to build on that front. So there are actually multiple revenue options, but right now we want to build a savers community to start with.
Konar, could you like to just come on board? We'll try and get into the brainstorming component more than the query component now, right? So I think one of the suggestions Konark has is to find a B2B way of acquisition rather than a B2C in payments and fintech, because it will be extremely tough and capital. Konar, could you have some thoughts around that? Would you like to come on stage and just kind of elaborate on what you're saying there? I would listen closely, because I go to Konark a lot for advice myself. So if he manages, I'm not sure if he's still there or he's left the suggestion. And well, anyway, I mean, I'm not sure if he's so one of the suggestions he definitely has is user acquisition costs, right? I mean, how do you acquire users? And this is something that I would like to throw open to the audience as well, because now today you've launched, right? Your one of your first objectives is to get to, like, let's say 100, 500 downloads, or users, and someone who actually sets up and tries the app out and then sticks with you, right? What is that communication that you hear? I mean, let's say if I throw this open to the audience, let's say that one liner or that one reason for you to download this app, like, would just something like saying, "Hey, we help you save," right? Is that sufficient? Or the statement saying, we give you a savings habit, help you build a savings habit. Is that something that's interesting for you, or will cause you to download and check this out, right? Or would it be something like, hey, listen, we reward you with, let's say, coupons every time you save, right? So I'm just trying to put out options there, and I'm trying to figure out what would cause people to actually download, use, from all that you've heard here today. And I'm open to yeah, actually, Akash, I think we are discussing go-to-market strategy. If you have some suggestions, then please do join us on stage, and it'll be fabulous to have you there, right? But what are your thoughts here, Namit, on the whole go-to-market? How do you get your first 100 users, or let's say first 500 users, right? How do you plan to do that?
Yeah, so that was, I'll talk about that, but yes, that was our one of the major next step for us is to really figure out how do we lower our customer acquisition cost. Right now, what we are doing is that we are going through our friends and family channel, obviously. So before we launched, we did a beta registration program in which we reached out to a few people. We took their interest, we registered them. So we had 200 registrations. So we already have a 200 user set who we now are beginning to reach out from today because they already expressed interest. So that is our beginning channel. Second is obviously through our WhatsApp group channels. Each of four of us have to start spreading from there. That is part number one. Part number two is that as a lot of other B2C app do, we also will do a referral program in which we intend to roll out referral rewards. So any referral which a person does will be doing referral rewards for those, and that gets multiplied for every additional referral which a person does. So obviously, second is the referral scheme, which we'll do. The third was we were planning to do a influencer kind of a reach out. So we want to reach out one on one to a lot of influencers in savings space, which we already know from our Twitter, from their Twitter handles and social media handles. We'll reach out to them.
Those who tell you how to manage money or wealth and those kind of things. Okay.
Yeah. We will hope to get two or three of them at least interested to try out our app, and if one of those like it, they might tweet about it. So that's our step number three. So these are our immediate steps to progress. But yes, I would like suggestions from this audience. What could be the interesting ways to acquire customers? I understand it's a huge challenge because B2C is fighting for mobile space. There are already a lot of mobile apps pre-installed, so there is a heavy competition. We understand. So we're looking for any interesting suggestions given our app, what we can do to get quick traction here.
So, couple of I don't think we yet have the answers there from a go-to-market standpoint. But there are a few interesting points that are being made. Like VS is saying that I think the assumptions that millennials are careless about money or not aware is probably wrong, because they are, many of them are both money and very health conscious and things like that, right? So they are looking. I also think maybe just because of the kind of opportunities that exist today from a gig economy, from an internships angle, from all of that, there are multiple ways to actually make money for someone who's interested in it, right? So and once you discover that you're making money, I think then it comes into how do you deploy and how do you do something with it. Just saying that, the assumption that they're not aware or that they are not thinking about money may not be the right thing. I mean, it may be like if you take the approach saying, hey, listen, the problem is you don't know this, right? Like taking a very educative, preachy approach versus a, I know you want to do this, we're just helping you do this. So now this is a very different language that you're using, right? One is saying you don't know and I'm going to teach you. The other is, I know you're really deeply thinking about this, I'm just going to help you. Now these are very subtle changes in the language being used, but it has a very different effect on the receiver,
Yep.
right? So I was just thinking that was a very interesting point that he made, and maybe you can take that away from a communication strategy or an ad strategy or all of that, right? Saying we help, right? We know we know you want to do this. We know you find it hard, but here is an easy way to do this, right? Rather than saying we know you don't know, what is savings about.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, I think a lot of people, of course, agree that social media is a great way to acquire those users. I'm just trying to understand, Ramesh. I see a question here, but maybe I don't get it completely. What's the risk to reward ratio those speculators are interested if? How is it possible to focus on saving behavior by ignoring their spending behavior? I don't know. Actually, they're very complex questions. If you raise your hand, we could probably try and understand this a little more, and then kind of hand over the mic, and you can take it from there.
Yeah. But I think I can still answer that. So I think the question is, without understanding the spending behavior, how can you create a savings behavior? But if you go back to my initial presentation, I talked about 4 different saving behaviors, and one of the saving behaviors which we are automating is a spending behavior, which is to say, I want to create savings as I spend. And this is the statement for the user, but for us, what we are doing in the backend is that we are looking at the spending behavior, in other words, because when I'm looking at the spending behavior, only then I'm able to create these savings, the right savings for the user. And there are 2 3 ways we are doing that. We are looking at the cash withdrawals, which the user is doing. We are looking at the every single spend which the user is doing to create a rounding off effect for the user. And the third is the guilt spend behavior, which is again based on spending. So we are looking at how many times he's ordering at Swiggy, how many times he's ordering at Zomato, how many times he's going to a resto bar. So we are looking at that, and based on that, we are triggering a savings behavior. So that's why we have, I mean, that's our key differentiator. We are a aggregator of savings behavior in a way, because we are trying to target 4 different saving behaviors, and people can pick and choose whatever suits them. They can pick and enable that. If you have a spending, if you want us to track your spending and do a saving, we have boosters available to do that today in the release which is available.
Got it. Got it. Another point, Konark actually has said, I missed this, but he said Kaleidofin is invested in by Bloom, and it might be useful to see what kind of approach they have taken, right? Sometimes just seeing what is their communication, what is their go-to-market strategy might be really useful, because if you find that they have a lot of downloads, for example, then one of the things I would definitely advise is App Store optimization. So get someone who knows who can tell you how many searches for your keyword, right? So let's say if someone is searching for a savings app or an investments app, then
Mhm.
you fine tune all of your description, your title, all of that, just to ensure that you match that keyword. Right, it's like Google SEO, it's App Store optimization. It's the
Yeah.
same thing that you do. Ensure your screenshots are extremely descriptive about the product, so that once they land on your page, they're able to quickly understand what the various screens are, and download and use. Right, so you can look at some good pages with a lot of downloads, how they do their app store descriptions, how they do their photographs, or screenshots, product screenshots. And especially for any app today, I think ASO is like the fundamental way to acquire for free, unless you're in an extremely competitive space, which automatically means you're paying for advertising. But even when you're paying, if you're optimized, then you again show up in a better ratio, right? So uh, ASO and product screenshots are a couple of things that I would definitely suggest that you get someone to just handle that. There are people on Fiverr, there are people, if in case you don't have it in house, but otherwise it is possible.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So I think someone, Elanchian, is saying that if your focus is on the young crowd, maybe educating them by giving points, like they could say you're saving to buy a smartphone in 6 months, right? So again, I guess he's going back to the goal-based behavior, saying what are you trying to do, which may be an interesting ad as well, because it's not necessary to not have goals, because savings is directly normally related with some form of goals, and it might just egg them on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like if you could even kind of tell them, hey, listen, you will unlock this voucher for a phone in 6 months if you save,
Yeah.
right? Let's say $1,000 voucher from Amazon. If you're saving for this long, that might become an extremely good. I mean, I'm keeping the mathematics of business model and profitability aside for now. I'm just saying what might cause those downloads and that usage. You can still probably evaluate what that is.
So I'm just showing a app screen,
Okay.
goals,
Okay.
the goal screen. So
Got
we do have goals. However, they are a very at a basic level right now. So we just ask the users to select one of the four goals which we have. User can set that goal, and then the behaviors will start saving towards that. However, in the as rightly pointed out by
I'm just
the
going to get Elancian on stage. You might be able to hear from him directly on some of the thoughts that he has on this.
sure, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So hi Namit. So that was one suggestion I wanted to give, the smartphone saving thing, because the millennials, they actually want to save up for some things that are actually pretty expensive, but it comes as a luxury. It's not basic needs that they're targeting upon, right? So because they're already spending on things like Swiggy and stuff and all. So whenever they're spending, they have to do. So the goal based thing that you've already created, it's very good.
Yeah.
So let it, you can make it like a customizable goal for themselves, like how we have, you have some flexible RDs in ICICI, right? So they have this thing. So likewise, you can do that. And
Yeah.
one more additional point, what I wanted to do is, so when you're actually spending, you're taking a small portion for savings, right?
Yes.
So I was also looking at in the other opposite way as well. So let's say I am investing 5K this month on mutual funds, then I should also be getting 500 to spend. So as in like from my own account, but there is a split up of me investing. So when I'm spending, I'm investing. So when I'm investing, I should be getting some bonus amount of money from my own account, obviously, so that will give us some amount of gratification towards myself. So that 500 rupees earning, I've actually earned the spent.
Yeah,
So
that's a very good thought. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I wanted to address actually.
yeah, that's nice suggestion. We taken a note of it. It's like you have earned it. You have,
Exactly. You have earned the money to spend it wisely. So that is something you can try
Great.
upon.
That's a damn cool suggestion. Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I wanted to know about other things as well. For example, I think like this kind of an idea where the balance money is saved. It's been around for like 4 or 5 years now, I guess. I've last seen it around 2014 or 15 itself. I want to know what is something that is very different about you, and why should people actually come and use their product as such?
Yeah. So as I said, I think the most of the offerings which are available today, at least which we have seen in India, they are like they give you one option.
Okay.
Like, say either you can do a rounding off kind of a setting for yourself, or you can do a save it first.
Mm-hmm.
Say you can park a fixed amount every month for your
Okay.
behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So in our case, the main differentiator which we see is that we are giving you a bouquet of choices,
Okay.
and we are, as I said, there are four different behaviors which we are giving you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can choose one or more. So you can start with one, and you
Okay.
can choose all four, or you can use a combination of those. So
Okay.
none of the apps out there gives you more than one
Okay. Okay.
at a time. So that
Okay.
I think is our biggest differentiator.
Okay. Okay, to quickly give us one more point here. So, our spends are categorized into three parts, right? So, needs, wants, and savings. So, savings is something that you guys are taking care of. So, what I would suggest is like if you're spending on needs, you can give in like a 10% of it going on savings, and if you're spending on a want, then I guess you have to go for a probably higher percentage because want is basically something that you don't actually need but you're spending anyway. So when I'm spending on a want, for example, if I'm buying groceries, you could take 10%, and if I'm buying things on Swiggy, I guess you should probably go for 30 or 40%.
Yep,
I
yep.
just think so.
That's an
Right.
interesting thought as well, and yeah, that
Okay.
kind of links to our guilt spend rule. But yes, you are.
Okay.
I mean, you are asking us to analyze the spend behavior based on history,
Yes,
classify it based on needs and wants, based on the recurrence of that expense, etc.
exactly.
Based on that, determine the right percentage. So,
Definitely, that's a good option because I've felt this with when I'm using this ICICI Bank personalized app. They actually give me like my fuel consumption this month and my orders on Swiggy and food related things and all those things they're segregated. So end of the month, I need not take my Excel sheet and do stuff and also it's like automatically managed so that I can get ready for the next month as well. So
yeah,
something similar to that I was suggesting.
yeah, it's like kind of an artificial intelligence built-in savings behavior.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because their behavior was, it has to be very dynamic, right? So one plan doesn't suit all. So that's what I was thinking. And that can be achieved by looking at their spending pattern. Like you already said that you have access to their SMS, right? So with that, you can actually get up their spending pattern and then
Yep.
suggest a saving pattern for them. If they're like spending very much, then you should warn them and say that you're not at the right track. Get in the track for you.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that's about it, guys. So
Hey, thanks a lot. Those are very valuable. Thanks a lot for coming up on stage and sharing those with us.
yeah, it's
Uh,
my pleasure, Ishwar.
Let me just withdraw. VS had a question. I think he actually was suggesting that you do whatever you're already doing. So he was saying upsave the change, right? So you're saying if I buy something for 223, then you kind of round it off to 250 and add that to my savings. So
Yep.
VS, that's one of the features that he's already introduced, where you just round off and add it to a savings account. Yeah. Yeah, upsave the change is what he calls it. It's like a rounding off thing, exactly like what you suggested.
Yeah.
Now, Akash, would you like to just come on stage and elaborate on the landing page that you suggested? I thought it was really interesting, and it's best if we heard from you. Okay, I'm going to just take a shot at explaining what he's written down. But I think what he's saying is that when you're directing visitors to a landing page, try and give them a visual graph of what happens if their salary just stays in a bank, right, versus coming to Upsave, right? So they basically see a visual difference between what happens to their account or their savings over a period of time, right? So let's say what happens after a year, what happens after 5 years, or all of that, and then if you are able to demonstrate that, let's say by earning 30,000 a month, right, and by following whatever we recommend as savings patterns, you end up being able to gift yourself a vacation, buy that MacBook, or let's say pay the down payment on a house, all of these things by just following a savings habit. And you're able to demonstrate it over a period of time, just saying, okay, at 1 year you can do this, at 5 year you can do this, at 10 year you could do this, right? That's what all of these small changes that you're making to your habit will cause for you in this time period. So again, probably complex from a implementation standpoint, but you get what we mean, right?
Yeah.
You're basically saying what will happen if you use us.
Yeah.
uh, right. Akash, I think there is a really cool suggestion. It would have probably been better if you explained it, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, I short.
Also,
Yeah.
it's not complicated. Yeah, we
Yeah.
understand. So it is doable. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
doable. Good
Uh,
suggestion. Thank you.
there's a suggestion again from Venkatesh. So, would you like to come up and discuss the whole 1,000 points for 10% discount? I'm going to wait for exactly a second before I take a shot at it. Okay, cool. So I think one of the suggestions that Venkatesh is a student, but he's basically saying, can you do something where as I save, I'm earning points, and as I earn points, I keep unlocking discounts at maybe retail shops, maybe at online places, all of that. It's basically like some form of a discount coupon, right? I'm assuming he has something like maybe cred in mind where
Uh,
uh, right you spend, and it felt similar, at least from whatever he discussed.
yeah.
Any thoughts on that, on trying to create this kind of a reward cycle?
Yeah. So we do have a couple of thoughts there. One of this was this. The other we have is a scratch card, kind of a mechanism in which every time you do a UPI transfer to your investment account, we'll give you a scratch card, pretty much like what Google Pay does
Got it.
today, and which
Got
gives
it.
you a reward anywhere between 1 rupee to 15 rupees. So we
Got
have to decide. We'll do some more user validation, and based on the feedback, we'll decide which one is getting more traction.
got it. Got it. Gaurav says ability. I mean, that an app can actually read and know where I'm spending my money. Right? That may be a deterrent because they may not want someone to know where the money is being spent. But I don't know. I mean, credit cards already know. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
So in
debit
our
and
case,
credit cards know. Yeah, but nonetheless,
so
any thought?
in our case, we have an option to not enable the spending rule behavior. So if you don't enable it, we don't read that, and we don't show it in the logs as well. So only the behaviors which you choose to enable for yourself, only those become enabled for you. The rest of the information is ignored.
Got it. I think Akash has a few suggestions on content, right? I mean, using content to kind of drive your initial acquisition. So just making, how to save money or whatever those buzzwords are, right? Like doing a keyword research on Google or a keyword research on YouTube, just to understand what are the most searched for keywords in your domain,
Hmm.
right? And then creating content according to that so that you're able to then come off as an authority or an expert on how to save money, how to make wealth by making small habit changes to your life, right? I think these are some things that would be very, very interesting because people want to know, how do I become eventually rich, right? And if you say that you can eventually do that by just making small tweaks or changes to your savings habit, I think that may be interesting content to push and build out on. Thanks, Akash. Yeah, I think
Yep. Yeah. That's a nice suggestion. Yeah. So we'll look at content driven acquisition strategy as well. Yeah.
Syed asks about incentives to save in the first place. I think we have dealt with a few of those, so I won't jump into that question. Uh, the one saving plan does not fit all strategy, but I think you are giving them different rules, you're giving them different percentages to play with. So Sonam, hopefully that answers. Even if they're saying every time income comes in, we're going to take money out, they allow you to determine what percentage is taken out. Right? So it could be 5% for someone or 15% for someone, right? But it varies because people have different EMIs or rentals and spends and things like that. But yes, people can customize that. Okay. VS, would you like to elaborate? Your clients are not individuals but businesses like Amazon and Apple who give some discounts? You mean that they will advertise to attract this customer? Uh, so I think he says, I don't know whether, yeah, I'm not sure how to take that away unless he comes in and clarifies. Recurring versus non-recurring expenses, which I think is also the whole need spend versus the want spend, right? I mean, like, let's say if I have to pay out rent every month, now I have to do it every month, right? So now this is recurring. This is now, are you differentiating in any way? Will you still trigger a savings habit for that? Okay.
Yes. We're not differentiating recurring from a normal non-recurring expense right now. But we can do that in the future. We'll have that capability.
I'm going to just end, like, I think in the next. Okay, hey Akash, thanks for joining in. I'll just allow him to ask his question directly.
Yeah, Akash.
Hi Ishwar and hi Namit.
Hi.
Yeah.
So one of the suggestions which I have is that create a maybe mascot or something like Mr. Upsave. For example, the ones you see in Air India, right? Air India has this Maharaja,
Yeah.
and Bira has this Bira monkey.
Mhm.
So you can have Mr. Upsave,
Mhm.
and which guides you through this app, and it is in all of your advertisements.
Mhm.
Plus,
So-
you, in future you can have Upsave family, Mr. and Mrs. Upsave, that you can add someone from your family. Let's say if you want to add your partner
Mhm.
in that app, and you can have Upsave kids, so you can have that interestingly, so that you can create a line of advertisement or promotions
Yeah.
using Mr. Upsave, so that it becomes a more gamified way of doing this.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We'll take a note of it. That really helps with the engagement part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's damn cool because as you start adding family, it also becomes more sticky, right? And then everybody is like, then it becomes a game where everyone is celebrating that
Yes.
you've saved this much and you have this much now available towards a goal or towards a vacation or something of that sort, right? I think that really helps.
Yes, and then you can also save it up for your kids, right? That I want to do this for my kids, so my kids' accounts should start getting activated, and
Yeah.
then some amount should be transferred to them,
Yeah.
so that you have Mr. Upsave kids also.
Yeah, so that's a very nice suggestion. It's on our roadmap. So in future, you'll be able to add multiple investment accounts,
Yeah.
and then you can configure each saving behavior to contribute to different investment accounts. You can say save before spend goes to this investment account, and you can say save as you spend should go to this investment account. Right now, everything goes to a single investment account, but in future,
Yes.
you'll have multiple investment account, and one of those could be your wife, could be your kid, could be a relative as well. So yeah, so that's a good one. And yeah, I mean, we did think about this one, just that we
Sure.
could not do it in the first release.
Got it.
We'll bring more of social elements in the later releases. We are also thinking on doing a group save in which you can save as a family, kind
Yeah.
of as well.
Awesome. Shall I withdraw the mic, Akash? Do you have any other
Sure.
things that you'd like to add?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. A last couple of, I think, last 4-5 minutes before we just get into the networking session where all of you will just introduce what you're working on to the rest of the people on the table. Namit can also join you on your different tables and just have another one-on-one conversation. Ashwath, would you want to just come up and discuss? Because I remember Namit saying that he wanted to do influencer marketing. And since your agency does that, would you like to just come up and share like your top one or two tips for doing that well, and maybe you can just drop an email to Namit if you'd like to explore that more. If you'd like to come up on stage, just raise your hand. I'll bring you over. There's a button on the right side. There's a suggestion from Arun to add pure retail insurance as well for a better review stream. And for example, travel and gadgets insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to note that down for you.
I've taken a note myself. Yeah.
Oh, better revenue stream. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that made a lot more sense now. Yeah, so it's a revenue stream and not a review stream, right? Yeah. Okay. So cool. Thanks a lot, everyone, for dropping in. We're going to continue the session. It's going to just move from the stage to your tables. You can. The best way to do this is to take a minute out and just introduce what you're working or building or doing to others on the table. Just spend like a minute introducing and hearing each other out. Spend 5 to 10 minutes on a table. Move to another table as you wish. You can excuse yourself from a table at any point in time. Don't have that awkward hesitation to do that. Just move, jump. The objective is to meet as many people as you can. Post this so that you also get something out of this. You're able to share what you're working on, maybe leave a suggestion for someone else, all of that. All right, I'm going to take a break from this session and maybe join some of you guys on the tables to hear what you're building. Yep. Do you want to say something, Namit, just before we end?
Thank you all for joining. I think I got quite a few good suggestions, and I think I got what I needed to from this session. So I hope it was definitely a very good use of our time, and I hope you also got some understanding of what we are trying to do. Feel free to reach out to us. We are looking for collaborating with a lot of people. Thanks all for joining.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Namit. Thanks for joining us today. You can just